Hi, I'm Gina Ventola, practice manager for Ventola Law. One of the best parts of my job is meeting with business owners. However, at times, it can be difficult to meet in person. That's why I started this show, to introduce you to local business owners in our community. Join me on your virtual coffee, a new kind of networking. Hey everybody, welcome to Your Virtual Coffee, a web show that introduces you to great local businesses in the Denver metro area. Today, my guest is the amazing Philip Pelto. He is an entrepreneur, connector, and relationship builder. He uses these strong attributes to become the founder of Firestorm, a professional networking company. Phil teaches his members how to build long-term strategies, partnerships, and how to leverage those partnerships to create a steady flow of high-quality referrals. He is passionate about teaching and coaching and loves to see his friends and clients grow and succeed. And with that being said, Philip, welcome to Your Virtual Coffee.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So we tend to do business with people we like, know, and trust.
Yes.
Right? So let's get to know you a little bit. So
Sure.
Are you originally from Denver?
I am not, but I got here as fast as I could. I actually was born and raised in Minnesota and spent 30 years there. So, yeah.
And so you've been out here since then?
I had a little bit of a circuitous route to get here. I've been here for 6 years, which actually is the longest, officially as of this month, the longest I've ever held one address in my entire life, which I'm pretty excited about. And also excited that I don't really have the itch to go anywhere else. But the short version is I went all around Minnesota, little pop into Wisconsin, went to Arizona, back to Minnesota, went to Germany to chase after my wife, Florida, and then here. So,
Wow, you're quite the traveler.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So everyone talks about how great Colorado is for being outdoors and things like that. So what are your hobbies?
Gosh, I love to try everything. So if there's something that I haven't done or something that people want to do, I'm in. Like, sounds great, sign me up. But the things that I really gravitate towards and spend a lot of time doing, I'm a really avid runner. And so I run every day, try and get out in the mountains, do trail running, and then, hiking and camping and that sort of outdoorsy stuff. Anytime I can get away from my desk and get away from the city and be in the middle of the woods, it's a great day. So, and then all the winter stuff too, like skiing and, I haven't got into the ski touring yet and, climbing up mountains on my skis, but that's probably next on the list. So.
I love that you not only have like current activities that you do, but you have goals for future activities.
Oh yeah.
I think that says a lot about who you are as a person. And speaking of that, because it makes me think of Firestorm, your networking group. Would you share about Firestorm, a little information about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Firestorm is a business-to-business networking organization, and we organize events and meetings for people to build relationships and share referrals, and we provide some education around that and try and make it fun. And really the idea is to help people identify, great strategic partners and facilitate that relationship building process so they can have a steady flow of leads coming in and grow their businesses. So I've been a business owner for a long time. Firestorm, I started with a buddy of mine 15 years ago back in Minnesota, and we've grown and gone into a bunch of different states, and it's been a really interesting process. But my passion lies in small businesses, since I am a small business owner, and helping other small business owners to grow and live a life of abundance and do what they want to do. So, yeah.
Now, how many chapters do you have of Firestorm?
Right now we're sitting, I think, at 16. So,
That's that's incredible.
yeah.
So how does Firestorm specifically, and I know you have a target there as far as those businesses that help other businesses.
Right.
How can Firestorm help that, for lack of a better term, B2B, which is business to business for our audience,
Yeah.
that B2B business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So there, well, there's sort of two questions in there. The target audience for us is, like you said, a business owner that is serving another business. So the client has to be another business, and we are generally going after people, and the people that are members of our organization are small business owners that are still actively involved in the business development. So, somebody that's maybe $0 to $3 million in revenue, and they're still out there hunting for deals. And then we have salespeople for larger organizations, like the Comcasts and the Wells Fargos of the world and that kind of thing. But the thing that both of those people have in common is they're both selling into organizations that are doing, $0 to $50 million in revenue. So that's kind of our members' target client, I guess. And the way that we help with that is we help them identify, who is that ideal client, and how do you articulate that? How do you, build out a client persona, much like a marketing company would do. And then we figure out who are good strategic partners, who else is doing something complementary to what you're doing, that is having a conversation with your client, that's selling them something else, that is, serving them in a different way. And they have visibility to a conversation where they could potentially identify an opportunity for you. And that's a two-way street, because if you're talking to, let's just pick a client that's, a business that does manufacturing, that does $10 million in revenue. If you're in there and you're doing, for instance, legal services for them, you're going to have visibility to some conversations where maybe they could, use an outsourced CFO, or maybe they could use some, different banking resources, or maybe they could use, a different, commercial lending, or, credit card processing resource or whatever. So all of those things will come up in a conversation or a discovery call, or in the course of doing your business. And then you're able to, say, hey, I have these other folks in my network, and I trust them, I know them, and I like them, and they're going to do a good job, and let's make some introductions there. And same thing with them, as they're out having their conversations with their clients and prospective clients, they may uncover a need that would be a good opportunity for you. And so if we can help educate each other on what everybody does and how we can identify and uncover those opportunities, and then we actually like the other people and we want to, help them grow. We basically created ourselves a little, mini sales force that's out there. So that's kind of the gist of it. And we do that by, facilitating that whole relationship building process, and helping educate people on how to do that.
I love that so much, because, and we will get into a discussion of more of who your ideal client is and who your power partners are. But I think you did a far better, more eloquent job of explaining how power partners work than what I usually provide our viewers here. So with all of that said, I think you can summarize it kind of in a nutshell, that we focus on relationships that lead to referrals.
Yeah, it's good.
And so with that being said, would that, in your opinion, make what makes Firestorm special or different from other networking groups?
Yes, in short, but there's the quality level of the people that we attract, I think, is kind of our secret sauce. And, quality begets quality. And we've always taken care and, put a lot of intention into selecting the people that we want to get in the group, and who we allow to be a member. And, not in a, kind of uppity, exclusionary way, but we want to be very mindful and very strategic about who we're getting. And so, quality begets quality. When you find quality people, they hang out with other quality folks. And, when we can raise the level of professional that's in the organization, it just makes everybody more successful and gets tapped into more, better networks. So that's a big thing. And then the other thing is, we have much more of a long-term sort of qualitative focus on things. We're not as, quantitative driven than as some of the other groups that are out there where you're tracking and measuring all the little bits and pieces of it. I'm much more interested in, how if it's one deal that gets done, it's a really awesome deal, and we can talk about that. So I think those are a couple of the other things that set us apart.
Now, Philip, let's talk about power partners.
Cool.
And for our audience, a power partner is a business that targets the same client that you do, but is not your competition, such as a hairstylist and a personal trainer, for example. They both target people, quite honestly, who want to look good.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of their ideal client. And so with that being said, we need to understand who your ideal client is so that we know who else targets them. So Phil, who is your ideal client?
Awesome. So I have two, and the first one, which is probably, it's the lion's share. It's 2/3 of our member base. It's a small business owner, and they are doing, $0 to $3 million in revenue. They're actively involved in the business development. So they're out hunting for deals. They're still, the quote unquote rainmaker of the business. And they're going after clients that are $0 to $50 million in revenue. So that's 2/3 of the business. The other third of the business is salespeople for larger organizations. So the Comcasts and Wells Fargos of the world. And they are in a business development role, and they are going after, again, that same $0 to $50 million client. So.
And both of these also target other businesses, right?
Correct. So
okay.
They have to be selling to another business, not a consumer. And so, sometimes there's some gray area there, like for instance, in, financial services and financial planning. And I always say, who's cutting you a check? Is the person, or is your check coming from a business entity, or is it coming from an individual? And if it's a business entity, that's who I want.
I actually think that's a great question to ask, is who's cutting the check, because then that's kind of cuts through the confusion.
Yeah.
So with that ideal client in mind, I'm thinking who else targets this kind of client would be companies like staffing firms,
Mm-hmm.
anyone in marketing, anyone who kind of in the commercial space. So that kind of opens it up for you. So commercial insurance, commercial real estate, those people who are looking for, and working with business owners in that capacity.
Absolutely. And another big one for us is co-working spaces and shared office executive suites. Just in the Denver metro area, there's like 120 of those different co-working spaces. Those are huge.
Wow. That's, I had no idea. I have been to several for different networking events,
Mm-hmm.
because you and I both love to network. But I didn't know there was that many. That's quite a bit, considering, Denver also, has other industries here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So since I mentioned our networking, I thought it would be kind of fun if you and I had a chat about our top 10 networking tips, because usually I attend networking events, which is outside of going to networking groups. At least one a week. And I know if I don't see you there, it's usually because you're at another event.
Yep. No shortage of events going on, that's for sure.
So I'm made a quick list of our top 10 networking tips. Number one, understand why you're there. Understand that you're there to build relationships that could lead to referrals.
Absolutely. Okay, number two is always bring cards, ABC. And I cannot tell you how many people I run into, especially the younger folks that don't have business cards and they want to do everything digitally. And that's all well and good, but I still think it's super important to have a business card and have something tangible that you can give people. I love to take notes on the back of business cards. And I also have a collection of business cards, which I actually just kind of dumped in the recycling and I'm going to restart, but I had like 6,000 cards in there from people that I've met over the last few years in Denver. So it was hard to part ways with that, but I like cards. I always have a card.
I like cards too. I love the notes on the back because then you know why you know if you need to follow up or something like that. But I just use my Google contacts. I take a picture of the card. It pulls in their contact information. So then I have it in my CRM and a picture of their card. So I still have their information as it was presented to me. And then it goes to the recycle bin.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Number three, seek out that person who's alone. I happen to know a lot of introverts who really struggle with networking events because it's a lot of people, it's a lot of noise, and they don't know who to talk to. And so they could be alone. And I've always felt this need to connect with someone who's in that position so they don't feel like they're alone.
Yeah.
So you extroverts, I'm going to tell you, find that introvert and adopt them. Introduce them around.
That's a great one. That's a great one. Okay, be a giver. So make sure that you are out there making introductions for other people. And when you find somebody at an event, and I think this is just kind of the way that my brain works, and I think a lot of people that are natural connectors, this is how their brain works, but when they are in a conversation, they're listening for ways that they can help. And they're listening for who is this person's ideal client and who is a good strategic partner and who do I know that's either in this room or in my LinkedIn contacts or whatever. But I'm always kind of trying to connect the dots and make introductions for other people. And I think that adds a lot of value to that person and it raises the value that you bring to the table in their eyes. So
I love that one. And you're absolutely right. As a fellow connector, it's kind of my mental Rolodex where I go through who do I know that can help this person.
Yeah.
I'm listening for certain words. I'm listening for, and I totally agree with that. Number 5, no selling. The person in front of you is a potential referral partner. If you view them as a potential client, you are thinking too short. You have to think the long game. And the long game is that this person could be a gateway to referrals. And if you're selling to them at a networking event, you are turning them off. I can guarantee you. So no selling.
Can I riff on that one a little bit too?
Yes.
So I always say, it's all about selling through the network and not to the network. And if you imagine an event and say, let's just for round numbers, say that there's 20 people at this event and you look at all of them as potential clients, then you have the potential to make, 20 sales or get 20 no's and that's it. And you're on to the next one. But if you look at those 20 people as potential referral partners and a gateway, as you said, to referrals to their network, the average person I think there's some debate about this, but let's just say, again, for round numbers, that the average person knows 200 people. Each of those 20 people in the room could potentially introduce you to 200 other people. So don't blow up that relationship trying to sell them when you could potentially lose access to that next 200. So that's a huge important one that I think a lot of people kind of screw up at, at networking events.
That's so true.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Number 6, be a resource to people and make sure that you, again, it kind of goes back to, being a giver and making introductions to people. If you can be a resource and put yourself in the center and make sure that people know that you are a connector and that you are there to help them out. So I like to say to people, if you know who to call that person. If you don't know who to call me. I'll find it. It's, if you can make yourself that go-to in your network, it's a super powerful position to be in and raises the value in all of your contacts' eyes. So.
Plus, exactly what you just said, it kind of elevates you to what they call top of mind.
Yeah.
Where people, oh, you know what? I remember, that person. All right. Number 7, follow up afterwards by connecting on LinkedIn. Now, I know a lot of people have a LinkedIn account and they post content on there, but sometimes they don't engage with others on there, which I think is a golden opportunity missed. Because again, you're putting your content in front of your potential referral partners. If you interact with them, again, it comes back to that top of mind and, quite honestly, relationship building, which is exactly why we do networking to begin with.
Yeah.
So connect with them on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. I love LinkedIn. All right. Number 8, make sure that you get their permission to add them to your mailing list. And I love the idea that you can ask people and say, hey, is it okay if I put you on this? Because I get added to so many junk email lists that I don't want to be on. I don't care. And you can always tell sometimes when people, come up at a networking event and they're just like, hey, give me your card, or, let's trade cards, or whatever. And they have no interest in talking to you. There's no, interest in having a conversation. It's just, I want to swap cards so I can add you to my spam email list. And, fun tip for when, we're at in-person networking events. I always have a back pocket full of junk cards that are not mine, that if that ever happens, I reach into that junk card pocket and hand them over somebody else's card. So.
I love that so much. I mean, what I find is that if someone actually asked me the question, I'm more likely to say yes than no.
Sure.
Like if they ask me in person, we meet in a networking event, I give you my card, you say, oh, wow, you do this. Could I add you to my mailing list? I'm more likely to say yes because A, you asked me, but also in such a personal way versus just arbitrarily adding me. So just ask the question. You'll more likely in person, you'll more likely get a yes.
Yep.
Okay, number 9, ask questions and listen. I run into this pretty often. I love getting people to open up, so I will ask an open-ended question so that it's not a yes/no question. Because if you're dealing with someone who maybe is terrified at a networking event, this is their first event, and you ask those surface yes/no questions, that's all you're going to get. So you want to ask those questions, and not necessarily about what would you say you do. More of one of my favorites, we all usually have name tags at events. Hey, Phil, tell me about Firestorm, because I've seen it on your name tag. And so that gives them an opportunity to talk about themselves and talk about their business. But it also should be like a tennis match. I've asked a question. You've told me the answer. Now ask me a question. Maybe tell me about Ventola Law. I would love to tell you about Ventola Law, and I'll give them a couple of sentences. Then I'm going to throw it back to them. Maybe ask them a question that has nothing to do with networking, because again, we like to do business with people we like, know, and trust. I like people who have things in common with me. Phil, you like to run. So if I said, what are your hobbies? And you talked about running, you and I would then have probably an hour-long conversation just on running.
Yep.
But you know what? That keeps you top of mind with me.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. And so listening to those things, or maybe it jars my memory that there's someone else at this event who also does running. I may want to go ahead and introduce you to that person and let you, have a conversation. And so I use the pieces of information I get from people to help, like you were saying earlier, where you're thinking, who can I introduce them to?
Yeah.
So I think it's important, and no soliloquies. No one wants to hear someone speak for 15 minutes straight about how great their company is. No one.
Yeah.
Please ask the other person questions and listen.
Yep. Yeah. All right, last one, number 10 is have fun. So it's one of my first sales managers had 4 key points to success, and the last one was fun equals more money. And people want to be around people that are having a good time and enjoy what they do and are loving life and are positive and upbeat and just have a good time. It's not you're networking. It shouldn't be a chore. You shouldn't be there. You're like, oh crap, I have to, go do this and all. If that's the case, like just don't go that night and come back another time when you're in a better mood. So I think having a good time and not taking it too seriously, because we're not out there saving the world. It's a networking event.
I love that. Hey, do you think we could turn this into an infographic and offer it to our viewers?
Totally. Yeah.
We can put with Firestorm information on it and put it up on my website, yourvirtualcoffee.com. And people sign up for my mailing list because I'm asking them to. And I provide that as a free download. You cool with that?
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. So what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
The single point of contact is the website, myfirestorm.com. And that has all of my information and company contacts and social links and all of our events and everything you could possibly want to know.
And you guys have a lot of events.
We do.
Which I think is amazing. I'm, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a former member of Firestorm. They have a lot of events and I highly recommend them. So if you are a business owner who targets other business owners, I highly recommend checking out Firestorm.
Thanks,
Any last thoughts?
No, this was super fun. I appreciate you having me on, and it was great to chat. And I would encourage anybody that has any additional questions about networking and relationship building to feel free to reach out to me or to Gina. And I'm on a mission to help educate people on how to be better at this and how to basically make yourself a system that generates a steady flow of referrals. And I kind of figured out how to do this a long time ago with my other sales careers and thought, hey, this is really pretty slick. And I like talking to people that want to talk to me, and I like having people send me deals. And when you get to that point where you're just kind of doing business with your friends and you want to help each other out and see each other grow, that's such a cool place to be. And I know that when a lot of people start down that journey, whether it's a new sales job or a new business or they're new to networking, it can seem like a long road. And I just want to tell you, as somebody that's at the other side of it and has kind of made it through the whole obstacle course, it's so worth it when you get to the other side and you put in all the time and effort and you get to that point where you're just kind of maintaining relationships and you don't have to worry about ebbs and flows in business too much. So it's awesome.
I couldn't have said that better myself. Phil, thank you so much for coming on my show. Thank you, audience, for having us in your homes, on your PC, on your laptop. We could not do this show without you. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and have an excellent day. Your Virtual Coffee is sponsored by Ventola Law. Ventola Law, mediation and legal representation at an expert level. You can find them at ventolalaw.com. Thanks for joining me today. For more information on Your Virtual Coffee, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wait for it, our website at yourvirtualcoffee.com. Thanks again for watching and have an incredible day.